The world is littered with stories of ghosts and ghouls. Legends and myths abound from the darkest corners of our world, telling tales of the horrors that exist on the fringes of society. Today, we dive into one more of these horrors. How about this? Urban myths. I apologize for the lack of videos the past few weeks. I got busy and this had to take a back burner. I'm back though, with another cryptid story that is sure to pique your interest. A quick Google search of the words Enfield and scary will often bring up the events that inspired The Conjuring 2, where a family was supposedly tormented by malevolent spirits in Enfield, England. However, if one were to switch out scary with horror, an entirely different tale appears. One that takes us to the small town of Enfield, Illinois, in the United States. It was a brisk night on April 25th, 1973. Around 8 p.m., a young Greg Garrett was playing in his family's backyard. He had no idea that he would encounter a fiend so hideous that he would never be the same again. Greg Garrett was having a good time in his backyard when something emerged from the darkest corner of the yard. Greg described seeing a beast with no less than 3 legs, slimy gray skin, red eyes, and short claws. The aberration approached the boy, who was too stunned to move, until it stamped on his foot. This shredded the boy's shoes, and the beast tore at his shirt. Greg, now coming to his senses, cried and ran off into the safety of his home. Greg's run-in with this monster was technically the first recorded encounter with what came to be known as the Enfield Horror. It may have been played off as a simple hallucination or a child's overactive imagination, or simply as an excuse for ruining his perfectly good shoes, had it not been for the infamous event that would truly cement this creature in the town's folklore and nightmares. That same night, around 9:30 p.m., April 25th, 1973, one of the Garrett's neighbors, Henry McDaniel, and his family had their own encounter with the Enfield Horror. Henry and his wife had just returned home from a night out to find their 2 children, Henry Jr. and Lil McDaniels, in absolute and inconsolable terror. The 2 children had claimed that a thing had been trying to break into the home through a door and then a wall-mounted air conditioner. Henry, understandably, was not having it. He was about to denounce his kids' childish fears when they all heard a scratching noise come from the front door. The kids screamed in fear while Henry Sr. assumed this to be a stray animal like a dog or a cat. He opened the door, and to his horror, he encountered something entirely different. What Henry McDaniel saw, he described as, quote, "It had 3 legs on it, a short body, 2 little arms, and 2 pink eyes as big as flashlights. It stood about 4.5 feet tall and was grayish colored. It was trying to get into the house." This had to have been the very same beast that attacked little Greg Garrett roughly an hour before. Henry, shocked and now in fear for his family, slammed the door shut and grabbed for a .22 pistol and a flashlight. The scratching at the door continued. Henry approached the door cautiously with his gun and a light, hoping that he had only imagined the abomination that was on his porch. He tore open the door and saw that his hope was in vain, because it was there, hissing at him. He fired off 4 shots into the beast. Henry was noted to say later, "When I fired the first shot, I knew it hit." But the beast just hissed more. After a moment, the horrible thing leaped from the house, jumping around 50 feet in a single bound, and vanished into some bushes. Authorities arrived not long later, and they confirmed the scratch marks on the house and footprints were all around the property. The reports state that the prints came in groups of 3, as if a 3-legged ant had been walking around. Each print indicated that there were 6 toes with 3 claws per foot, with 1 foot being smaller than the other 2. The police were baffled. and having just responded to the Greg Garrett case not an hour earlier made things even more perplexing. This, however, wouldn't be the last time that Henry McDaniel would encounter the horror of Enfield. Not a month later, on May 6th, in the middle of the night, he was startled awake by the whimpers and cries of the neighborhood dogs. He got up to investigate the commotion with his pistol at his side. He opened his door and saw the same beast meandering on the railroad tracks nearby. He froze in fear and watched as it stumbled and walked down the tracks. He later said, "I saw something moving out on the railroad track, and there it stood. I didn't shoot at it or anything. It started down the railroad track. It wasn't in a hurry or nothing." Over the next few days, as word got out, investigators and amateur cryptozoologists flooded the area in hopes of catching a glimpse of this monster. A small group of monster hunters came across the beast hiding in the bushes near the railway. When they found it, they proceeded to fire upon it with their own rifles. Like McDaniel, they were unable to cause significant harm to it, and it quickly ran away. Later, Rick Rainbow, news director of the local radio station WWKI in Kokomo, Indiana, encountered the Enfield Horror. He and a few other unarmed explorers claimed to see a grayish beast, roughly 5 feet tall, hunched over near an abandoned home not far from the McDaniel residence. When the beast noticed the crew, it ran off at what was said to be supernatural speed, and it let off a screech that they recorded on a handheld tape recorder, of which I couldn't find any sample of on the internet. However, cryptozoologist Lauren Coleman also heard the noise. She said, "I traveled to Enfield, interviewed the witnesses, looked at the siding of the house the Enfield monster had damaged, heard some strange screeching banshee-like sounds, and walked away bewildered." Theories of this creature ranged from a demonic spirit to an alien that was connected to a spate of UFO sightings in the area at the time. Another theory linked the beast to the Mount Vernon creature. This beast was sighted a handful of times in 1941 and 1942 in the town of Mount Vernon, which was less than 40 miles away from Enfield. These sightings were similar in that it was a leaping beast that terrorized the people and is supposedly responsible for the mutilation of local wildlife. However, descriptions of these monsters claim that it looked more like a baboon than the three-legged abomination that was the Enfield monster. So what was this beast? Was it a hoax by the McDaniels? If so, what attacked Greg Garrett? And what did Rick Rainbow see? Where did it go? What happened to it? These answers we may never find out. But perhaps, is it better that we don't know? Thank you for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button for more of the creepy content that we both know that you love. Comment below what other legends we should cover or creepy places you'd like us to explore. As always, stay creepy, friends.